Welcome, everybody, to a championship edition of Club and Country After the Whistle on MLSsoccer.com. I'm David Goss, and we are going to bring you everything from this incredible Gold Cup final. There was injuries, late goals, drama, and a couple tears as well. As you'd expect in any good game, I'm joined, of course, by Bobby Warsaw, former MLS player, current author, and beautiful, good-looking man. I'm joined by Arielle Castillo of MLSsoccer.com, and she's going to be on her phone all show getting your text, 401-206-0MLS for all your takes, questions, and comments. And on my other side, Mr. Calen Carr, host of The Movement, former MLS player, Cal Bear, and you have a higher expected goals number than Darlington Nagbe in your MLS career.
I'm not sure what that means, but I'm into that, yeah.
And you also always bring the threads. Best dressed on the team. The U.S. national team won the 2017 Gold Cup. It was an incredible game, a dramatic game, and it was won by a Mr. Jordan Morris. Let's go to our Hot-Take Hotline right now for our first call.
With Jordan Morris seemingly locking up his place for the team going to Russia, do you see any other forwards making it onto the final 23? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, and keep calling us United Stanford of America over here.
That's right. You're welcome, America. You're welcome. Yeah, Jordan was very good tonight. Goal aside, he was excellent.
Did he lock his place down?
Even if he hadn't scored, yes.
He locked his place down on this roster.
I wouldn't say 100%,
as a top three striker.
He was already in pole position, and a good performance moved him up that.
He said in his post-game interview, it was my man that I lost. I wanted to make up for it. Mm-hmm. Clearly, he did here with the goal.
Yeah, you want to see that, not just the ability to score, but you want to see the mental fortitude. The World Cup is a cauldron. The emotions are up, the emotions are down. For him to bounce back, and mistakes will always happen. You can never get away from mistakes. So to see a young player with this much potential bounce back so quickly and score a big goal was really nice to see.
Calen, we got a lot of texts about Chris Wondolowski in this tournament throughout this game, and he was a guy at the last World Cup that was brought on to score goals off the bench. Can you see Jordan Morris playing that role? Did he solidify anything for you in this game?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to solidify a role on the World Cup team this early in advance. Things change, especially in the forward line. You have to take who's in form. But I think he earned the trust of Bruce Arena tonight. You know, we saw him in the playoffs last year, helping to carry the load in a lot of those games, scoring that clutch goal to send the Sounders to MLS Cup. Now he shows up with the national team late in the game on the big stage, and I think he earned the manager's trust here. So when you're looking for a guy off the bench, his qualities have the ability to test any team in the world late in games with his speed. And I think tonight he showed a big step forward.
Yeah, I've got to say, I totally agree with Bobby. I think the most important thing is that he made a mistake on that set piece. I mean, no one on the internet was going to let him forget it if he didn't make up for that, and he did. And
but he admitted it.
He admitted it, and he showed that he could come back from something pretty bad under a high-pressure situation. So I think that's the most important part, and I think that'll play a role in him maybe making it to Russia.
A couple goals throughout the tournament for Jordan Morris, and one of the things that goes into his pocket, Bobby, as well, is that he's versatile, right? He played out wide after Dempsey came on. He started the game up top alongside Jozy. That's a piece that Bruce Arena can work with.
Deuce came on earlier than we expected, before the 60th minute, and part of it was that Kellan Acosta just wasn't doing a good job. When that happens, you're gonna sub out Kellan, you need to get Deuce in the field, so he had to bring on Deuce earlier. You don't want to put Deuce in the middle, you don't want to put Deuce wide, and having a guy like Jordan Morris on the field allows you to put Deuce in his proper position. Jordan starts it forward, he goes wide, and that versatility not just helps Jordan, but it helps bring the most out of everybody. So yeah, that'll be a plus for Bruce.
The one thing we question about Jordan is, does he use his left foot ever? And there was a moment before this where there was a deflected shot, ball falls, it comes to Jordan's left foot to cross. He doesn't really take it quickly, but then he gets himself back into the game and scores the goal. And that was a rocket on the goal. I mean, things fall around. Goalkeeper's a little out of position, and there's a lot of bodies moving in front of him. But well-taken goal in a huge moment, which is what you need.
Yeah, he takes it really well. You know?
We're talking about Jordan, but I want to just take the conversation in a different direction. We're talking about Jordan maybe locking up his spot. Charlie from New York wants to know which other players from this Gold Cup roster have permanently secured a spot for the World Cup.
King Nagbe.
Nagbe.
Nagbe was the best player throughout the tournament. Deserved the best player.
Well, Michael Bradley got the golden ball.
Yeah, Nagbe deserved it. But Nagbe is he's changing this team right now. His composure on the ball, his willingness to take balls in tough spots. And tonight, we don't often see Darlington Nagbe and MLS take players on 1v1 and be dangerous in that final third. How many guys, and unbelievable to watch Darlington do this. He looks the defender in the eye and just shakes him. It's like watching Barry Sanders. He looks him in the eye, shakes, and gets past him like it's nothing.
Well, the one knock on Darlington was he able to kind of drift out of games? He has a tendency to do that.
That's a good point.
With his MLS team, and today he was up for it. You could tell from right away he was on the ball. Like you said, Bobby, he was running at guys. He was drawing fouls, beating guys one-on-one in the box,
and
creating opportunities for his team. And you know, I think he took a huge step forward tonight also as far as earning the trust of the manager as well.
I have to give a shout out to, since you guys are on the Nagby train, we should talk about Chad Ochocinco's tweet that when Nagby makes a cross, it's the same as Neymar. So you have someone else who agrees with you. So Nagby clearly, and lateral movement with the ball at his feet, attacking is identical to Neymar. So maybe we should be worried about Nagby going to PSG.
Yes, for sure. Talking about another player who's versatile. Nagby started out on the left wing. He slides inside. He proves to Bruce Arena that he can do multiple roles for him. And Bobby, like you said, not only can he take guys on, he can hold the ball. And there was multiple times where you saw the ball played out of the back and 2 or 3 guys around him, and he spins. He may play the ball back. It's not going on a counter, but it's just holding possession for this team, allowing everyone to release and move up the field. And I don't think you can trust anyone as much as him.
Let's talk about changing positions real quick again. Because what this national team did throughout this game and the game before was dictate the rhythm for 60, 70 minutes, right? And then they changed for the last 20. They set the other team up, they tired them out, they put them in a position so that at the end, it's no accident that we scored in the 89th minute today. That wasn't random. That was the fact that we had the ball, we had most possession, we made Jamaica chase, we made them work, and we opened up the game. So that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a team that is in different phases of a match, ready to kill off a game at the end by preparation. Right? So you've got these guys that are versatile. You can set up a match for 70 minutes and then change into killer mode for the last 20.
Well, what do you guys think? Bruce Arena, he's 14 games unbeaten now, 401-206. 0 MLS is the hotline. Let's go to a call.
Hey, my name's Sean Reilly. Just a couple of questions. First, with the Gold Cup having more stakes with the Confederations Cup, do you think we need to moving away from sending a B team to this tournament? And conversation-wise, Paulo Arielle, possible replacement for Fabian Johnson. I think he offers a little bit more and keeps the backline honest when Fabian Johnson's on the pitch. They just kind of go into him because they know what to expect.
You really liked Paulo Arielle.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, too, he's a guy that locked up his spot in the World Cup. I mean, it's not really part of the sexiest conversation, but I think throughout the tournament, he did a great job. He was always in the right spot at the right time, putting in the work, and I think he's definitely headed to Russia.
And he's a guy who's played at wing back. He's played out on the wing, but there's not a lot of true width in the U.S. national team pool, and he's a guy that's shown that.
Well, he showed he wasn't afraid. I liked he was very positive. There were even moments where he just looked to relieve pressure with his pace in behind, running at guys one-on-one. Some of them came off, some of them didn't, but he whipped in some dangerous balls. Now, I think he's locked to place, I'm not sure, but I think when you look at the Gold Cup as an opportunity to prove yourself, when we look forward towards World Cup qualifiers, he's a guy that should be included in that next group.
Bobby, the U.S. national team, or United Stanford, whatever it is you want to say, they just won the Gold Cup. Do you have any complaint about a B team roster? That was the caller's first question.
Not at all. Bruce pulled all the right strings. We doubted him early on, but here's something we have to remember, right? It's true about the B team. It's true about homegrowns in MLS. At some point, you've got to give guys a chance, right? We can't complain both ways. We can't say, why aren't the young guys? Why aren't we giving young blood a chance? And then why are we taking a B team? So Bruce pushed all the right buttons. He took some risks, and it worked out.
I want to take the conversation in a sort of related direction, too. We're talking about guys who have played themselves into the roster. We have a text from Michael in New Orleans, and he asked, did Kellan Acosta play himself out of the roster? He says he had a ton of freedom tonight, but didn't create anything. And I want to hear your opinions on that, because I'm not sure I agree.
I don't think he was bad in this game. And no, he didn't create a goal, but no one else did. Jozy scored off a free kick, and that was all they'd done up until the 88th minute. And he's a player who isn't a pure creator. And maybe no one is anymore, but I'm okay with Kellan Acosta and the role he played. Apparently, we've got a phone call about Kellan Acosta as well on the Hot-Take Hotline, 401-206-0 MLS. Call us.
We've got the wrong Calen. On our team, we've got the wrong Calen. On our team, we've got the wrong Calen. On our team, we've got the wrong Calen on our team. This is Dan from New England. This Gold Cup final needs more rope. You know I'm right.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Again, you know, spending the first 2 weeks at camp, which I'm going to take credit for this win. Kellan Rowe was one of the guys that really impressed me the most. His attitude is amazing. I was really sad that he got sent home early. I don't think we have the wrong Kellan, but I think 2 Kellans would have been pretty clutch.
Bobby, what's going on over there?
How does this happen where Kellan Acosta is #1 on everyone's list? We're all over the Kellan train, and then he's off so quickly. Is it?
I didn't push him off. I didn't push him off.
He
Mike from New Orleans pushed him off.
It's
None
half
of
and
us
half,
are.
right? We were too quick to push him to that #1 spot after a single game. Remember, in MLS, Kellan's a very good player. He's not yet a dominating force. But it's true, we all would have liked to have seen Kellan Rowe. So I can't say that Rowe shouldn't have gotten more opportunities. I just think, guys, we have to rethink the way we view these young players. Are they a star? Are they not a star? Let the progress take its shape without flip-flopping our opinion so often.
Well, these guys are not really comparable players. They're completely different. You know, Kellan Rowe has played a much more advanced. Yeah, they share the same name, and of course the caller from New England. I feel you want to represent for your guy. And I agree. I think he deserves more opportunities, and I think he showed, as well as a guy like Christian Roldan, who was, you know, brought back to be around the group for this game, that these guys should be names to look at in the future. But to me, the revealing part was a little bit from Stu and Landon talking tonight about how Michael Bradley rates Kellan Acosta. Because Michael has a big role on this team, of course. He is the leader of the midfield, and if he's standing there saying that, hey, Kellan's a guy I trust next to me, and it shows in a final game, I thought he did well linking with Jozy tonight.
Can we talk about how to get the most out of Kellan real quick? I still think he's being miscast, guys. I don't think he's a deep line player who's going to connect passes and build rhythm. I still think that's the right spot for him farther up the field, where he's closer to goal, he can shoot with both feet. He's very good at making that final pass.
But he was upward in the
lines.
final third a lot in that first half. And when Nagbe was cutting in field, he was the guy making a lot of those runs. It didn't fall for him every time, but he made that attempt.
But the way we're talking about him right now is if he should be dictating the rhythm of the game or facilitating. Let's give him more time up near that 10 position where he's closer to goal. His runs late into the box are so sharp. He's going to get a ton of goals for both club and country. See what I did there? For both club and country from that spot. So let him mature into that role farther up the field opposed to thinking that he's an 8.
But doesn't he have to get on the field to make a difference? Because you just said, you know, with the B team, you have to give guys a chance to take a risk.
Here's what we're saying, right? He reads social media. He's reading the articles. If we keep on talking, why isn't he doing these things as an 8, it's going to soak into his bloodstream. He's a human being. But if we reframe the conversation and say, play to your skill set, why don't you play farther up the field? Why don't you do these things that fit your skills? Then we get more out of Kellan Acosta.
Let me ask this question. First of all, he's a young player, so he has to get on the field. Maybe it's not in his ideal position, and also is the expectations too high? Because there's no one else that plays that role right now. So you've got a young player who is at least at that level, if not starring. Isn't that enough to maybe develop him, keep him in the team for now?
I think he's in the right position. I think he's doing just fine. I would caution to think that he would be listening to anything we have to say here.
But he is, but you know he is, though.
I do not think Kellan Acosta is listening to what we are sitting here telling. He's going to listen to his manager. He's going to be tough enough to handle any sort of criticism that comes his way. And he's going to continue to develop as he is. I think he's in the right spot next to Michael Bradley. He's able to get forward into the attack, of course. He covers a lot of ground. He has great intangibles. I like his toughness. I think that's something that stands out for me with him. He's not afraid to get into a tackle here and there. And he's not afraid of the moment. I thought he showed that tonight.
This is just a joke tweet, but we talked about Michael Bradley, and Jay from New York says, is Bradley better as a number 26?
Ah, there you go.
But in all seriousness, I want to take it back to another MLSer on the other side, who is Andre Blake. And Tom from Portland says it's frustrating to see all these, quote-unquote, Blake saves that tweets. Maybe he would have saved it, but he got injured, wasn't in the game, and I hope he's okay.
So Andre Blake injured in the 23rd minute. That was a huge hit.
Heartbreaking. And I think the game would have turned out very differently if he had stayed in, potentially.
I mean, the U.S. won 2-1. They were going to score goals at some point. Whether it's not on that Jozy free kick, I mean, he wasn't going to save the second one, right?
But you still have that thought with Andre Blake because he has that special ability where he gets Dwayne Miller gets a touch on the Jozy free kick. But you'd have to wonder, could Andre Blake have potentially got it over? They go on to halftime, 0-0, and does that change the whole complexion of the game?
Yeah, you definitely can see that, and I think that's definitely like a reaction for this team. He was the captain as well. so that's a big thing for them. He ends up winning Golden Gloves, and can we just have
How do they show that? God.
Can we just have a 30-second conversation about this, though, about he should have won the Golden Ball? Michael Bradley should not have won that Golden Ball. Go USA, I'm glad they won the tournament, but he was not the best player in this tournament throughout the tournament. Andre Blake led his team for the second straight tournament. They make a final. They upset the U.S. in the semifinals last time. They upset Jamaica in the finals, semifinals this time. He's wearing the captain's armband. They only gave up 2 goals going into this final. Like, he was the best player in this tournament.
I mean, definitely in the last Jamaica match, he was the guy.
Right.
Like, you know, Kamar Lawrence gets that goal, but Andre Blake was the guy, and without him, that would not have gone that way at all.
You gotta hope he's gonna be okay for Philadelphia
Absolutely,
fans.
it's heartbreaking just to see. I mean, it took a little.
Poor Philly.
It's not even about Philly. It just kind of took the air out of the first half of the game because you never want to see that.
Philly gets 3 points, and it's still a horrible night.
That's harsh. Yeah, Philadelphia Union beat Columbus Crew, and he's right. Unfortunate for Blake. Patrice Bernier's teammate, though, Alphonso Davies, gets Young Player of the Tournament and the Golden Boot for the top goal scorer. That's a young player that we can get excited about. That guy hopefully will keep playing more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's such a talent. Some of those similar qualities that you find rare in young players, that fearlessness that he has to be able to run at guys one-on-one. I still think his best position is probably in the center of midfield. That's a lot to put on him right now, but another guy. The Gold Cup is for young players to take steps forward. He did that. Canada has to feel good about their hopes going forward because they did a lot of this without their main striker, Kyle Laren, in this tournament. So you hope, they can build from this.
Davies is similar to you in the way he plays and his pace and just his movement. What does he need to work on to improve over this next year?
If he was similar to me, that is I haven't heard that one before, but I'll take it.
And the way you guys stride and the way you see the game.
Right, yeah, lankiness might be the one characteristic we
Long
share.
legs, small torso.
I think he's doing well. I think the one thing he needs to continue to grow onto is just taking a bigger role in games. And that's for all young players, It's easy to be a young guy.
And shine in the easy moments.
Exactly, but these tournaments when you're playing against top competition. You've got the national team flag on you. There's a little added pressure. And, you talk to a guy like Patrice Bernier, or you talk to a guy well, Andrew Jacobson, who plays with him for his club team. And he said he's the best player, the most talented player on that team.
He's the first person they would pick in any game in
Exactly.
practice.
So when you hear that from enough veterans that you and I both respect, he's got something special.
Yeah. Guys, well, we kind of didn't focus on this, but the U.S. national team lifted the trophy. No one wants to put on beads with me? I'll put on the beads. I don't care. Dax or Party there, part of the party. It took him a couple of years to get into the national team, maybe more than it had to. Guys, how good is this feeling for these guys right now? Let's take away the who's going to Russia in 12 months. Let's take away the what did this tournament mean. It was a final. It was a final against a team that deserved to be there, that played them hard. And you win in the 88th minute, like there's nothing better.
Yeah, and we're talking about a lot of the young guys, but I really just want to give a shout out to Jozy Altidore because as a fellow South Floridian, I'm just going to be super pedantic about that. Pride of Boca, let's go. To me, a lot of this tournament is about him making good. There's so many Jozy haters out there, and he's just in amazing form right now, I think, for club and country. And the first half was really all about him, right? I mean, he had to play really deep. There was nothing really happening in the central midfield, and he made something happen. So to me, the first half is Jozy.
I agree with that. And I think he doesn't get a lot of credit for the nuance in his game.
Correct.
He was able to, his hold-up play was excellent. He's always, a handful up top. But he dropped off a lot more and played the role of facilitator in this match. That first shot that he strikes on frame, tests Blake, then the follow-up from Acosta, that's the play where he got injured. But that softened up the back line a little bit and created a little bit more room for them to play and create. He had some nice combination play on top of the box. Really didn't put a foot wrong all night. I think his passing and his combination play is something that I think people overlook.
And I think it's something that maybe has developed since he's come back to MLS. The role he's taken on at TFC where Giovinco's going to score goals, but maybe a little bit more expected of him.
Oh, we should also mention him stepping up for that free kick, right?
And
Stuart Holden was saying on the broadcast, saying it was him and Acosta standing over, and he's like, I expect Jozy to take that.
Yeah.
And, that's because it's the veteran to step up to be like, all right, young buck, but this is my shot. I'm going to step up and take it. And he shows you what he can do.
And Miller hadn't touched the ball yet. So I love that he at least put it on frame. He hit it very well. Andre Blake wouldn't have saved it. but at least he put it on frame.
We actually have a message from Tracy in Nashville about Jozy and Jordan, and Tracy says, the Jozy and Jordan haters should take the night off. Maybe post on a knitting or neurology site or something else they know little about.
Boom!
I'm
sizzle,
also Team
that's
Jozy, so let's
that's
go Tracy in Nashville.
That's the heat. That's a hot take that we expected. What do you think of Jozy this whole tournament, though?
You know what helped Jozy tonight? And we may have also
See
miscast
Bobby
him a little bit. Well, whenever he checks back, Nagby would take that space, or Arielle would run behind. So it really helped Jozy that he didn't have the responsibility to come facilitate and get behind. He's a guy who naturally likes to roam and find the ball and get it, give it. But it was a lot of pressure to him to do that. And we're yelling, get in the box, get behind, stretch the defense. So to have soccer brains, to have relationship on the field, to have soccer brains like Nagby, who when he sees Jozy checks back, Nagby took that space with Jordan tonight. It was beautiful.
But big picture with that conversation of what this team is, if Jozy's going to float and find the game, can Dempsey start up top next to him? Because Dempsey's not a guy who's going to stick on two center backs.
We're coming back to this?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I'm asking the question then, is Bobby Wood a starter for this team? Does Jordan Morris become a full-time starter?
Well, that's interesting because we got a tweet specifically about Jordan. This is Jared from El Paso, and about this specific topic, he says, Jordan Morris is making progressions in his game, and Jared from El Paso believes that he can challenge Bobby Wood for the second striker position.
Yeah, Bobby Wood, I think, had it handed to him for a while, and he was so good, but he struggled. You don't think so?
I don't know about handed to him.
I think he earned it.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's a very good point.
Jozy and Bobby are still the two guys that are going to lead the line right now. I think Jordan took a step forward in that other spot. But to answer your question, Goss, Jozy's role isn't going to be to drop off and to facilitate and be the playmaker normally. But that was his role tonight, and give him credit for recognizing it and be able to execute that. In later on games, of course, you're going to find a guy like a Christian Pulisic. You're going to have maybe a Clint Dempsey, who I know everybody wants to write off for dead. I'm not one of those people to go from the start, not just in the last 20, 15
well, if it
minutes.
stayed tight, he would have gotten a full 90 in this game. That's what Clint wanted.
Yeah.
But, of course, Jordan Morris wouldn't allow that to happen. The game-winning goal, 4-0-1. 206-0 MLS. This is your show. We want to hear what you want to talk about. We want to hear your takes and questions. Let's go to the Hot Take Hotline.
Hey guys, Trevor from Lynchburg, Virginia here. Why don't we bring in Jonathan Spector as a vocal leader on the defensive back line, since apparently nobody wants to step up and be that, and Omar Gonzalez wants to keep dropping back and not step up to a line, listening to maybe even Matt Miazga or someone like that, because they're too young to sort of have his respect. Okay, thanks, bye.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good call. We haven't talked about the back line because I think Jamaica only had one shot in the whole game. It was the goal. It came off a corner kick. But we saw problems throughout the tournament. Bobby, Doyle was here asking questions. He said Hedges didn't step up to be a leader. If Jeff Cameron's not there, who's a vocal leader? Jonathan Spector's been very good with Orlando this year as that exact player. Is he a guy that should be in this conversation?
It still seems like a stretch that Spector will be the guy, but it's definitely important to ask ourselves, if Cameron is not on the field, who is the guy to organize? Who is the guy to yell at people to stay focused? What I just don't understand is why it's not Beezer, because he does it a lot for SKC. So there's something about his relationship with Omar, his relationship with the other guys, that he doesn't.
But one of the other guys is Graham Zusi.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
50% of that backline is Sporting KC.
But I really like the thinking that we're trying to figure out. Okay, Spector probably isn't as talented as Beasler or Miazga or Hedges, but it's important to think about the relationships between players, and can Spector get the most out of the other three guys in the backline and Bradley in front of him? So it's a good line of thinking.
Well, I have a question actually that also Sam from Dallas wanted to ask, and it's what you mentioned Hedges. I mean, what happens to him now? You think he gets another shot? Sam from Dallas is asking, will he be able to redeem himself before next summer? What happens?
I mean, I think there's always a chance to redeem yourself through your form with your club team. Obviously, Bruce is a guy who knows and watches MLS very closely, so Matt's going to need to go back to his club, and of course he may be disappointed with his performance, not taking his chance to take a step forward here, but he'll have his chance to redeem himself as things go down the road. But I still think, you know, when you look at this back line, it goes to show how important a guy like Jeff Cameron is to be able to step into that center of back line and create that continuity and have those relationships, as you mentioned, Bobby.
So let's go positive here, or you can do whatever you want, but I'd assume it's something positive. What's your favorite moment from this Gold Cup? It can be any team. It could be anything that happened. It could be Javon Watson's Instagram, whatever you want it to be.
The Dax Instagram was really good. Seeing Deuce come off the bench and score those goals, I just stick to it. He's not a starter at this point. With the way this team played and the progression they showed in controlling a game and setting up a game for the final phase, to have Clint Dempsey come on in 20 minutes has me more excited about this team and the progress of our national team than I felt in a long time. So to see Clint accept that role felt really, really good.
If you think Clint Dempsey is accepting the role of
not.
No, you're right. I worded that
minutes, I guarantee you the conversation with Bruce wasn't like, hey, this is your role from here on out. You know, this was like, for this game, Clint, please do this for the team. And he did it.
And he just comes out angry, fueled by his anger.
So yeah, so people will talk and say, okay, Clint, you know, congratulations, you've tied the goal-scoring record. But also on the sly, like, this is sort of the new role for you or the end of the road for your time as a starter with the national team. I would never do that with a guy with Clint Dempsey's character and skill. And right now, in our player pool, when you look at the guys with the most talent, with the most experience, that can step up in a big game like this or in a World Cup, he's still right there, alongside the fact that his relationships with Christian Pulisic, which we've seen in games, Jozy Altidore, and some of our most important players, is still something very valuable to the national team.
And just in general, he gets people shook. Like, you know, people see Clint warming up, and the guys on the field get scared. Like, the journalists in the press box get scared.
Third most goals active for an international right now in the world, behind Cristiano Ronaldo and
male,
Messi.
Yes, but
yes, good call. Thank you. I appreciate
behind Ronaldo and Messi. So
yeah. So basically, company. We've got what, Neymar on one wing from Chad Ochocinco, and a player who's just as good as Ronaldo. What's your favorite moment? You were with the team covering them across the board.
I liked Jozy's goal in the last U.S. match, the last time he scored, because it just seemed so redemptive. And I've just loved his performance and his form throughout the whole tournament. In general, I think my favorite thing about this tournament is how it's proved how the quality in CONCACAF has risen so much. I mean, you know, Jamaica gave us a hard time. Martinique gave us a hard time, and you know, Martinique is a tiny place that's not even recognized by FIFA. So that's been the most exciting thing about this Gold Cup for me.
For you?
Yeah, Jamaica, to me. I think, to echo what Arielle was saying, you know, they were in the Gold Cup. I was at that last one where they lost to Mexico, but what a run they did, beating the United States along the way. Now show up at the next Gold Cup. What do? Take down Mexico in dramatic fashion. You look at the guys in MLS. I thought Javon Watson, of course, with a big goal tonight. Andre Blake in the back, probably one of the best players, if not the best player in the tournament. And you got to give a lot of credit to Whitmore, because he organized this group, had them tough to beat, tough to play against, dangerous on the break, gave them a real structure, a real system, and they were fun to watch. Like Javon Watson's Instagram, you need to follow him. Yeah. They're dancing in the locker room. You know, you can feel the togetherness when they score these goals. The way they come together on the field.
Together,
Jamaica deserves a lot of props.
Seeing Whitmore's celebration after the goals.
Also,
just seeing his face.
Yeah, just on the screen here, we can see Lowe, the center back. I mean, it's not just MLS that we're talking about improving in quality. A lot of these guys play in USL. I mean, he plays for the Rowdies, and he killed it this whole tournament.
25 guys on the game day roster between the two teams today are MLS guys. That set the record. There you go, Jay Vizzle. Calen Carr. That set the record, though, for a Gold Cup final. So that's what you're talking about, where this region's growing, how big a part of it. I think Costa Rica had 13 MLSers on their roster. That's another semifinal team. Cubo Torres started in the semifinal for Mexico. So there's a lot of examples of how MLS affects this region.
Jamaica has proven they have something special in a tournament format, which makes you think if they could find a way to qualify the Reggae Boys, could they make some noise at the World Cup? So.
And my moment was doing Club and Country with you guys. Also, Costa Rica vs. Honduras at a sold-out Red Bull Arena. That's what I live for. But also Club and Country with you guys. Yeah, we did.
Is that just like our peak right there?
Yeah, how can you go higher than that?
I've been holding that in for days now, guys.
I do want to bring back a quick discussion that we had in the last episode, which was like Landon versus Dempsey, while we're on the Dempsey train. So Jose from LA says he just wants to ring in on this, and he says Landon will always be better than Dempsey. His iconic goals against Mexico in 2002 and Algeria in 2010 speak for themselves. P.S. Go Arielle. Go Jose.
Go USA. Go Arielle. 401-206-0MLS. With any last questions for us, anything you want to know, any takes you want to fire off, any takes from you guys, anything that stood out for you. The U.S. national team won a trophy. this doesn't happen every day. Bruce Arena, 14 games unbeaten. How important was this for the psychology of this program right now? Because they didn't make the final in 2015 to get this done.
Yeah, it was big. And I think, for all of the pedigree that Bruce has with the national team in MLS, it's still important for him to prove that he's still got it and that he can manage this group right now leading towards the World Cup, which is, less than a year away. So having that trophy in the locker room, having that moment celebrating with the guys, and really for the supporters as well of the national team as well, I think it was big for him as well.
Is there any expectations right now, guys, that there's any chance the U.S. won't win the World Cup in 12 months? Jordan Morris probably, Stanford guy will get it done. That's the expectation now.
Pulisic. I know. I just think it's so interesting that the supporters, U.S. national team supporters, they like self-flagellation. We don't like to enjoy anything. So I think it's a little funny watching that expectation sort of change and watching people grapple with good results.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of it all, right? Yeah. Mexico won the last one, and now they're Juan Carlos Osorio out, and the whole world's falling down, and all that stuff. Well, Calen, Bobby, Arielle, thanks so much for joining us. Club and country after the whistle. We've been here all tournament with you. We've loved doing it, and we will see you soon for the U.S. national team, but enjoy the win.